What is SIG's 365 ammo all about, and why should you care? We'll do a little experiment coming up next on GBGuns. Thanks for joining me on a beautiful March day. There's finally daylight out after work, so I'm here on a Friday afternoon to test something out that is something I've been advocating about quite a bit. Defensive guns, small ones like the Canik MC9, Sig 365, all that have become really popular. Why? Because they're easy to conceal, they're more comfortable. However, SAMI, the Small Arms Ammunition Manufacturing Index, dictates that 9mm be produced for a 4-inch barrel. These little guys are not a 4-inch barrel. So what does that mean? Well, what that means is the ammunition you're firing potentially is not reaching the velocity it needs to perform as intended, meaning that hollow point, that defensive round that you're carrying, is not going fast enough to open as it's supposed to. That's why SIG has this 365 ammo, both hollow points and full metal jacket, so you can practice. It's also why I prefer to carry like a 4 1/4 inch. Now, I get it. The warm weather is coming. I'm in short sleeves for the first time in months. Soon, I'm not gonna be able to carry something this large. I'm gonna have to move back to a smaller gun. And though nobody wants to get shot with anything, I think that's a pretty universal truth. Before you get too invested in your ammunition, you should know if it's going to perform as intended from a short barrel. There's a couple ways to test this. One way would be to get a bunch of expensive gel blocks, spend hours and hours out here shooting them, to have the internet rip apart the testing protocol as not being enough layers of denim or not the right kind of denim. I don't know what this infatuation is that your attacker is going to be Canadian, but point being, gel block tests, as best as you try to make them, are never 100% perfect, and even if they were perfect, the FBI's own standards could be called into question. What I'm going to do for you guys today, as a more fair means, is take a look at how this 365, using the ball ammo because it's more affordable, performs in comparison to some other common loads. Those of you that are readers of ours know that over the previous summer, tested 23 different range loads of 115 grain full metal jacket ball ammo and found a surprising range of energy and differences between them. Meaning, just because it says 9mm 115 grain doesn't mean you're going to have the same shooting experience that you did with the last random box of 9mm 115 grain. I grabbed the second softest stuff and the second hottest stuff that I still had plenty of. That's why I couldn't get the softest and the hottest in this test. And we're going to run them first through a 4-inch barrel as a control. This is an Airmox X-Fire. Don't worry, full information on the guns and setup and everything will be in the pinned comment in the article. But this is our 4-inch barrel as a control. Then the only 3-inch SIG barrel that I have, as in regular 365, is actually from this ported type. It's an XL length slide, but it is a regular 365 length barrel. We'll run those through those two and see what kind of velocity differences we get and energy differences we get to see if those particular ammo loads are sensitive to that barrel change, that loss of 1 inch. Then we'll do it with the 365 to see what difference there is there. This doesn't answer whether or not a hollow point traveling at those speed differences will perform. What it does answer, however, is if this 365 ammunition performs better or performs predictably, I guess you could say, from a shorter barrel. We'll also be chronographing all of this, of course, so we can see what kind of consistency this ammunition has. Back when SIG first launched their EPA ammunition, I got to chrono a whole bunch of it and I was very impressed. That was many years ago. We'll see how it's doing today. Then, to be fair and run across other things, we've got a couple other guns of similar barrel lengths that we'll run the 365 ammo through, see how it groups, see how consistent it is chronologically. We even have an XL length, although this is a ZEV barrel, and barrels do make a difference. Also got articles on that. So this is going to be long and sciencey. What you guys are going to see is footage of me shooting groups. If that entertains you, if you want to see how I do with these, especially with various guns and various dots on all of these. Remember, Graham doesn't shoot guns with dots. I just have a pile of them here. stick around. Otherwise, check the pinned comment. That's where all of the data is going to be in an article where I will give you some digestive thought on all of this stuff, as well as more information about the guns that are used in this video. All right, to start off with control number 1. And to show you guys, we are 7 yards away, calibrated by 15 years of ruck marches and climbing mountains, etc. in the Army. Trust me, we're 7 yards. Target camera's going. Our chronograph can be a little wonky sometimes. Sometimes it decides it wants to be in Europe and starts reading in metric out of nowhere. Don't worry, I will calculate all that stuff in post. If you guys are wondering why I don't have the cool Garmin thing that everybody else got, it's because I'm independent. I wasn't paid by some company to push anything. So control number 1 is our Winchester service grade 115 grain. We're gonna start with the 4-inch to get a feel for how it's supposed to perform per SAMI. Then we'll go down to our 3-inch. And here we go. $12.60, $12.82, $12.70, $12.70 again, and $12.93. An excellent performance out of the Airmox today. I'm gonna leave that target up. I think it's clean enough. Don't you guys? Really impressed with that. Now for our 3-inch. Once again, this is the compensated model of the 365, using an XL length slide with holes in it, but the barrel is 365 length. So what kind of velocity difference are we gonna get? $12.37, $12.40, $12.45, $12.18, and $12.12. So there was definitely a drop there. I'll clean the target, we'll reset and go to our soft load ammunition and see what kind of differences we got. Control 2, our low control using the Fiocchi 9 AP. Same 2 guns, a 4-inch and a 3-inch. $10.99, $11.24, $11.29, $11.02, $11.11. See my point? Both 9mm 115 grain range loads. Drastically different performance out of the 4-inch. Now we'll try the 3-inch. And if you guys are worried about keeping track of what difference is where, that's all in the pinned comment over in the article. This video is really just my notes because it beats having to write things down. 3-inch Fiocchi 9 AP. $10.58. $10.49, $10.53, $10.46, and $10.68. And it appears this dot has wandered a little bit to the left, but that's okay, doesn't matter for this. So now that we have those numbers done, maybe you're seeing them on screen. Hopefully I did that. I'll reset the target and we'll load with our Sig 365 and we'll see what kind of difference we get. That's the whole reason why we're here today. Target reset, still at 7 yards, no changes there other than the ammunition. Now the Sig 365 ammunition out of a 4-inch. Remember, this is a longer barrel than the ammo was originally intended for. $11.69. $11.04, $11.08, Air 3, $11.25. So looks like low 11s. How much do we lose when we go to what this was designed for, this ammo, a 3-inch barrel? Off camera, I gave this Holosun a little bump to the right, see if it worked, and assuming that right is actually right. I'm sure you guys know how that goes on zeroing these things. Nope, it didn't do anything. 1087, 1051, 1109, 1051, and 1048. Very consistent, shot pretty well. Knowing all of that, leaving that target up so we can see if there's any point of impact changes. Now the Sig V-Crown 365 defensive ammo. This is the only gun I'm going to test this in because this stuff's expensive, but 5 rounds of it through that same gun. See how it compares to the 365 range ammo. Since it's the same projectile weight, if we're getting the same velocity, that means same energy. That also means the 365 Full Metal Jacket ammo is good to train with as an equivalency so that your defensive gun feels like the same thing on the range and on the streets. $11.09, $11.01, $11.19, $11.18, $11.56. So that last shot was a little hot, but we saw same point of impact. Down in the pinned comment at the article, I'll have the exact numbers because I can't remember all these numbers as they're going by, but as it seemed to me just shooting here, recoil impulse, if anything, that V-Crown felt a little bit smoother. That might have been the nickel casing making extraction a little bit less violent and feeding a little bit less violent because it's smoother, lower friction, but it appears to do the same. Now, is this something specific to SIG? Let's find out and run it through 4 non-SIG short barrels and see how we do there. First up, the ultra affordable Sky DVG, wearing a right-on optic. $10.76, $10.32, $1,100. Sorry, $1,000. $10.49, $10.34. So a little bit lower, but still did all right. What makes the difference, you might ask? Well, that comes down to chamber fitment, chamber size, the throat, the part that the bullet jumps or doesn't jump as much to engage in the grooves, and the rifling type, the overall inside bore diameter. All of these specifications can get you slightly different velocities with the same ammunition out of different barrels. And we'll probably see that. I'm curious if you guys have a guess which one's going to give us the highest velocity. Next up is the Mossberg MC2SC wearing a Viridian RFX 15. I expect better groups out of this because with the extended magazine, I can get my whole hand on it. So this may be a good demonstration of hand fitment and how important it is, or I'm about to put my foot in my mouth. Let's see how it does with the 365 ammo. $10.92, $10.65, $10.56, $10.80. And not a bad group, I gotta say. Who knew that hand is important in handgun? 2 more guns to test. Next up is the Canik MC9. This is a true equivalent, if you will, to the Sig 365 in size. It's wearing a Viridian RFX 11. Finger rest barely gets my hand on there. $11.16, $10.96, $10.45, 11-12, I changed my grip, ruined my group. And 11-23. But once again, we're getting those speeds, equivalency out of a shorter barrel, out of a non-SIG gun. It doesn't have to be a SIG to run this ammo. And last up, we have a Sig 365 XL in an Icarus grip. This is the new Sig Romeo-x compact optic, my first time using it, with the integrated fiber optic rear sights. Hope that's coming from the camera. Don't worry, more about the guns is in the pinned comment. Now this is an aftermarket barrel made by Zev. They don't make it anymore. If you like the performance, comment below, hey Zev, make that barrel again. But more importantly, it's a 3.7 inch barrel. So this will show us the difference of velocity we're gaining with this ammo by going from a 3-inch barrel up to a 3.7. And once again, don't worry about keeping track of all the numbers. I'll write it all out for you in that article. Oh, I gotta turn this down a little bit. There we go. It's too bright to see my target. 11-16. 10-87. 10-96. 10-81. And 11-07. So what did we really learn today? Well, I've been saying, and I've demonstrated before, that semi-spec for 9mm is a 4-inch barrel. If you buy regular defensive ammo intended for a 4-inch barrel and it goes through a shorter barrel, it may not have the velocity it needs to perform as intended. Yes, you'll still hit the target, but it may not perform as you expect it to. Whether or not that could save your life or not is up to you. That's an arguable point that no one really has any hard data on, so it's just something to keep in mind. What we have demonstrated is the difference in velocity from that 4-inch barrel that most ammo is made for and a 3-inch that these days micro compacts are running, and even before that, when single stack 9s were the rage, they were all 3-inchers. We've proven that, and we have also noticed that the Sig 365 range ammo and the Sig 365 B-Crown matching hollow points for defense perform about the same. How different? I don't have those numbers in my head as of the time of filming this video, but you can see, you saw them on the screen, and you can see them all laid out next to each other clear as day in the article down in the pinned comment. We've also seen that ammunition, despite being SIG ammunition and 365 ammunition, runs in other guns because of course they're also 9mm. But more importantly, we saw how they perform in different barrels from different makers of the similar length, and what difference a little bit of extra barrel may or may not make you. Where is the magic mark between 3-inch and 4-inch to have it shorter than 4 but not really that big of a difference? First of all, what is a big difference? Does the ammunition still perform at that rate? And whose barrel is it and which ammo is it? If you're still a little confused about the energy differences as demonstrated between this Fiocchi and Winchester at the beginning of this video, check out our 9mm range ammunition guide. It explains quite a bit more how big those differences can be from one load to the next, as well as why you might want to choose the hot stuff deliberately or why you might want the weak stuff deliberately. There are good and valid reasons for either one of them. I hope this was helpful, and just like when I did the very exhaustive Liberty ammunition test, I appreciate those of you who hung with me through this entire session. Shooting groups like that for that long is exhausting. It's not the easiest thing to do. Plus, changing triggers and changing optics through all of those guns, going back and forth, definitely gave my hand a workout. I think I'm gonna go give it a rest on a nice Friday evening. If you've made it this far, go ahead and write duck in the comment section. That lets me know who the hardcore guys are that watch through the whole thing and get everything out of it, not just, oh, let's watch a couple $1,000s of fun guns get shot, or see if Graham screws up a group. Maybe you guys watched it for that anyways. I don't care. Thanks for sticking with me. Thanks for 8 years of support, and we'll see you in the next video.